Body image and eating disorders are prevalent in our times. It's well known that teenage girls and women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s or so have body image issues and eating disorders. If pressed, most people might say that, yeah, they imagine that kind of thinking continues into your 50s and 60s. But when they talk about people in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, people stop considering that older women question their bodies and weight in the same way that someone who's 30 might. Instead, they think that when you're older, you no longer think that your body is or is not beautiful, vibrant, fat, or thin. Instead, you mourn your old body and now think about wrinkles, saggy breasts, and saggy skin. The bodies of older people are often even seen as humorous or repellent. Research by Dr. Alex Yellowlees, who is the medical director and consultant psychiatrist at the Glasgow Priory Clinic, speaks about an epidemic of self-consciousness. He tells us that we're suffering from a collective body dissatisfaction, which is a contagion in our society, and we must acknowledge that it affects all walks of society, young and old. It was once the case that we were happy to coast into retirement and relax in our old age. But now, even in these later stages of life, he's seeing people who are preoccupied with shape, weight, and looks in a way that was once the domain of younger people who had yet to find their path or identity in life. Yellowlees reports an alarming rise in older patients with eating disorders, that they strive to achieve what he calls an unrealistic physical ideal. Today, everybody is acutely aware of how they look, and their appearance has become a currency that they trade on. That means that we value old people less because they don't fit the currency of youth, and that in turn leads to a lack of self-esteem in older people, because they don't feel valued by a culture that can't get past a superficial image. Interesting research about body image in older women comes out of England. Interviewed for the Observer magazine, researcher Dr. Nicola Rumsey, who is co-director of the University of the West of England's Centre for Appearance Research, suggests that, as adults, 90% of British women feel body image anxiety, and that includes elder women. She tells us, in a culture where increasing value is placed on our appearance, we must look beyond the superficial. In her research, Rumsey describes that older women are the wise ones that we have always looked to for their experience and knowledge. And if they are preoccupied with appearance anxieties, this becomes the norm for future generations. She said it doesn't wane. Many women in their 80s are still anxious about the way their bodies look, which can even affect their treatment in the hospital when their health choices are influenced by aesthetics. Rumsey's studies demonstrate that these anxieties do not dissipate as the years pass, but merely evolve into different types of concerns about appearance and how we are seen by others. Dr. Rumsey has conducted a study of about 1,200 people, which confirms that appearance-related anxieties persists well into later adulthood. Tying into the concept that younger folks don't see elders as thinking about themselves with a young, self-critical eye, most healthcare professionals focus on controlling pain and body functionality. However, many patients feel the way they look is as much of a concern, but they're embarrassed because it isn't a legitimate topic of conversation. It can cause substantial distress to look in the mirror and see an aging body, especially if that person has visible conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis. American society continues to be fascinated with the appearance of elders. They're viewed as wise and strong, as objects of criticism and disgust and the brunt of humor, and in ways that some think of as wild and fun and others see as simply sad. There are positive images of elders. For example, designer Karen Walker selected 12 models aged 65 to 92 for her latest 2013 eyewear collection. And mixed images, such as Nancy Reagan, who some think of as anorexic and preoccupied and identified by her looks, but who is also respected for her fashion sense. The actress Betty White is seen as wise, funny, and beautiful. She's a successful actress well into her 90s, but still makes fun of herself in ways that can be seen as negative images. There are also images that some think of as fun and others see as a sad compensation for what they feel they've lost with their youth. Some women choose outrageous appearance to compensate for their age and loss of youthful appearance. And then the negative images that many people see as humor, but that can also be seen as criticism of elder bodies. With all of these images of aging, I've been incredibly fortunate to have a positive role model. I've always loved my mom and have always seen her as a role model, as a professional working mother, and an in general fun person and mom. But lately, I've come to admire my mother for the new ways she has come to see herself, as a person who has a lot to offer, intelligent, and genuinely comfortable in her body. I have great respect for her for the challenges and joys that brought her here. As a child, her parents were somewhat remote and stern. Then, as a young teen, my mother lost her own mother, and then her grandmother, her bubby, moved in with her to take care of her. Her bubby was warm and loving, and she had other supportive family members, but she also had those that made her life challenging, such as her stepmother and stepsisters.
My stepmother kept telling me what a big ass I had. At college, I became independent. At graduate school, I was certainly independent. And marriage changed me a lot.
In her late 20s, she met my father. My father grew up in a home where women were to be admired for their perfect bodies, which could cause problems for my mother.
When I became engaged to her son, she objected to me on several levels. I was too old, I wasn't feminine enough, and I was flat-chested. And so she and her sisters, instead of having a shower, took me to an underwear store and bought me humongous padded bras. I still had a good feeling about my body. And I felt confident enough to dress the way I dressed. I didn't have to copy other people.
Early in their relationship, they enjoyed each other for a number of reasons. But as my father became increasingly successful in his career, it seemed that her importance and sense of self diminished.
I feel that when I was married to him, I lived in his shadow, and that I was who I was because of him. I didn't have my own self-identity. It became very important. And his ego kept getting bigger, and he kept becoming more critical. And I think that's when I felt badly about my body.
Did he say stuff to you that made you feel that way?
Stop eating. Stop eating. Don't eat while you're standing up. And I gradually gained weight, even though I was dancing and doing a lot of exercise. And I went to Weight Watchers, and I lost all the weight. And I kept it off for a couple of years, and then I said, to hell with it. I mean, I am who I am.
About 8 years ago, my father died. My mother eventually was able to, for the first time, recognize her own importance in the world, and also to gain a new perspective on her physical appearance and comfortable with the great things that her body can do.
And I think after he died, I began to feel comfortable with my body. I was who I was. I discovered that I was more than just a wife who took care of my husband, who survived because of his secretary and me, and I became my own person. And I realized I am who I am, and no one was putting me down, so I was putting myself down. I feel much more self-assured, and I realized that I'm really human and I can be ill. Looking at my life now, I'm comfortable. I have everything that I want or need. Well, the one body thing that I'm aware of is I have no neck. And so I wear things with a collar so that I feel it's not quite as obvious that I have no neck, but it just makes me feel better.
Despite how she may have felt about the way she looked, my mother always loved to exercise, and specifically to take dance lessons. She continues to actively take classes to this day.
With aerobic classes, and then I decided I liked dance better, so I've been taking dance aerobic classes. Now, the classes I take, there are a lot of young women who are dancers who do very well, and physically I can't keep up. However, I feel fine. I'm doing what I can do, and in some of the classes, the teachers are thrilled to have me.
When we describe older women we admire, many people use descriptive words like sweet and cute. Here's my mom's take on cute.
I sort of feel that that's offensive. I mean, I was cute when I was a kid. And then by the time you're my age, you're not cute. She's charming. She's interesting. She's charismatic. She listens. She's comfortable with herself. She's not criticizing others. She's the qualities that I have that I didn't realize that I had.
Though elder women may have become confident and wise, having entered the queen stage, as taught by Mark David of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, they may still have body dysmorphia or dislike of their own bodies. Without having some sort of intervention, a person usually won't spontaneously feel comfortable or happy with their own body. It's not as if you pass 72 and suddenly negative thinking just disappears and acceptance fills the space. Instead, older women, like women in the princess stage, in their 20s and 30s, need to actively work to learn to accept, feel comfortable with, or even love their bodies. This work may include therapy, coaching, and body work. Coping with change is difficult, no matter how old you are. The particular challenge for older adults is the sheer number of changes and transitions, including the loss of friends, family, your health, and even youthful appearance. It's natural to feel those losses, but if that sense of loss is balanced with positive ingredients, you have the formula for positive aging.
I feel I really do have my self-identity. If people are critical of me, that's their problem. It's not mine.